When we think back to the definition about denial of service attacks, this was when there's so many requests coming into a target service that legitimate requests start getting rejected. And exactly the same thing can happen if there's a sudden influx of legitimate traffic. So if the application or server just simply gets overwhelmed. We see this happen many times. In fact, often this is referred to as the slashdot effect. And what this relates to is somebody writes a story, so say for example on a personal blog, it gets picked up by the technology news site Slashdot, which has a huge audience. All these people come along and start reading the story, and it overwhelms the site. It's just someone's little personal blog running on small infrastructure. But because of this sudden dramatic increase in popularity, the site actually gets taken offline. So the Slashdot effect is a term that's been around for many years now, and we still see it happen today. We also often see unintentional denial of service attacks when some form of major international event happens, and we end up with a whole bunch of organic traffic coming to the site. In fact, in these cases, it is the equivalent of a distributed denial of service because you've got all this traffic coming from so many different locations. And that can actually be really difficult for the target site to defend against. And really, in this case, it's not malice that they're trying to defend against, it's just unforeseen popularity. Sometimes, though, unintentional DoS can even be caused by inadvertent traffic. Let me give you a couple of examples relating to these points here. The death of Michael Jackson was a huge news story in 2009, and a bunch of services went down. Sites like Twitter actually had a lot of trouble staying alive whilst there was this outpouring of grief and discussion from so many people. That was a major international event, and it caused an unintentional DoS, not due to any sort of malice, but just due to the huge volumes of traffic. A good example of inadvertent traffic is YouTube. Not YouTube as we know it, the online video sharing platform, but YouTube, the company that sells machines to actually make tubes. That's U, the letter U, tube.com. And this story is quite old now, but back in 2006, the company making the tubing equipment had a lot of trouble staying online because they were getting so much traffic to their variation of youtube.com simply due to people inadvertently typing the URL. This wasn't malicious traffic, and one would assume that after mistyping the URL and realizing they were in the wrong place, they'd probably leave again. But if you have enough volume, thousands of simultaneous people, tens of thousands, millions, whatever it was, there was a point at which the folks making the machinery to make the tubes just simply couldn't support the volume any longer. They ended up suing YouTube, that's the video YouTube, because the name was too similar and it was actually having an adverse impact on their business. Speaking of impact, let's go on and look at one more thing in this module, and that is the impact of these denial of service attacks.